Assalamu alaikum. We're at the site of Srebrenica here in Bosnia. All of us have probably seen what you can see behind me, these rows of graves. In April 1993, when the Serb soldiers invaded, they had no mercy. And they took their weapons and their armaments and their guns, and they gunned down the Muslims of this small village here in Srebrenica, killing the men and the children. The graves behind me and all around us, in fact, the graves of men and children killed in those fatal days of April 1993. The mastermind of the more recent Christchurch massacre, Brenton Tarrant, was inspired by the perpetrator of this human genocide, the worst human genocide since the Second World War. Brenton Tarrant was motivated by Ratko Mladic and Karadzic and others who committed this massacre. In fact, on his way driving to the two masajid in Christchurch, he was playing the songs praising the perpetrators of this human massacre genocide in Srebrenica. On his weapon, on his gun, he had the names of those perpetrators, glorifying their names and that memory, and committed that act in their memory and remembrance. That is a consequence of othering. It is a consequence of dehumanization. These are mechanisms of hate, of intolerance that lead to what happened here and other places of mass killing and genocide in the world. What happened here was gruesome. It was of a scale that is unprecedented. We don't hear the stories. And in fact, what you find here in the fact that the Serb soldiers, when they came in and they besieged the Muslims ran into the forest. Maybe you can see the forest behind me as well. Ran into the forest seeking shelter, and they were gunned down and they were hunted out like animals. When people dehumanize others, they don't see them as humans. They see them as subhuman entities. They see them as animals. In fact, the Serbs use that language with the Muslims of Bosnia, seeing them as cockroaches, as vermin, as rats, as pests, as an infestation that had to be cleansed of. And that's why they did what they did over here. And of course also harkening back to old memories of their defeats under the Ottoman Empire of Murad I and the defeat in the Battle of Kosovo and the Battle of Maritsa and these kinds of things. It was that same image of depicting Muslims as savages, like in the Crusade, as savage Turks, for example, or Spanish Inquisition as that of the savage Moor, the dark-skinned, othered Moor, and even in the accounts of Christian missionaries and apologists like John of Damascus, so way back before, and Thomas Aquinas later on, that same image, filters through. All of these are images of dehumanizing language, psychology of dehumanizing and othering. And it's really heartbreaking being here, seeing these graves and looking at the names of everybody. Some of them have my name, Osman, that's my name. And I want you to think about that. Think about human identity, think about human life, think about sanctity of life. Every single human being that's buried here was a life, was somebody's father, was somebody's son, was somebody's uncle, was somebody's relative, had a story, had a history behind them. Every child wished for a life. Every child has aspirations, dreams, memories, hopes, fears. That's what makes all of us as human beings. And to have them gunned down just like that, indiscriminately, without question, as if the life meant nothing. That's what happened here in Srebrenica. For us, it's a lesson. For us, it's a lesson as an ummah. For us, it's a lesson about being strong and united as an ummah. And the Muslims came from all over the world, the Mujahideen came in and assist the Muslims here. Allahu Akbar. This is also a struggle of mothers. Because these graves we see behind us weren't always here. In fact, when the Serbs killed these Muslims, they buried them in mass graves, like rotten animals, throwing them in graves. And then shortly after that, they exhumed them with bulldozers, and then transported their bodies in more than 470 different sites all over this land to hide the crime, as if it didn't exist in the first place. This is why now even in Serbia they deny this crime. They deny the genocide. They downplay and deny the genocide, as if it didn't happen in the first place. It is upon us to come here, to see, to witness, to bear testimony to this, so that we can relay this to others also. This is what happened. on those dark days. And genocidal tendencies, when they emerge in people, this is what it leads to, what it results in. Othering and dehumanization leads to massacres, leads to genocide, leads to murder. The mothers and the wives of these men and boys who buried here were the ones who campaigned tirelessly for so many years and decades to try and find their bodies, to try and bury their bodies here. And that's still continuing today. There are still bodies here that should be here but are not here, in other parts of the country, unaccounted for. This is a wound in the collective memory of the entire Ummah. It's a wound here, felt here more for the Bosnian Muslims here. May Allah give them ease. May Allah protect us from the savagery of what human beings can do. Human beings can do the most evil things to other human beings. That's what genocide creates. It created that, of course, in the Holocaust when the Gypsies and the Jews were turned into the Untermensch. They were the undermen, and the Aryan Germans were the Übermensch, were the upper people. The same thing happened over here. Same thing happened in Rwanda with the Tutsi victims. May Allah protect all of us, protect our world from such carnage and dehumanizing and such evil. And being here, of course, it's very sad, but it's very reflective at the same time. Seeing, of course, all of this around us, seeing all these graves, it's a reminder for all of us. May Allah protect us all.